Hello, listeners. Welcome to the first episode of the Unlocking the Energy Trilemma podcast with our host, Ravi, Krishnan, and Jose Martinez. They are experts in the energy sector, and they will help us to understand the reality of energy transition and the hidden tips to achieve it. Jose Martinez is the CEO of ADEX, an artificial intelligence company for power generation, and a business expert of the European Union on the energy sector. He is based in Madrid, Spain, and works internationally. Ravi Krishnan runs a global energy industry marketing and consulting firm based out of the United States, and is also very active in Europe and in Asia. Ravi supports many customers on energy transition and decarbonization. In the following episodes, Ravi and Jose will interview keynote experts in the industry. But in this initial episode, they are debating about the context of electricity generation in the world, together with some feedback from the COP28. Ravi, over to you.
Hi, Jose. How are you? Where are you now?
I'm in Madrid. Hello, Ravi. And you? Where are you today?
I'm in India. I just got here from the COP28 in Dubai. So that's great. It's so nice to see you. Are you ready for the podcast?
Well, I'm really happy to launch this podcast series with you. So let's start.
Excellent. So, Jose, the topic today is on the energy trilemma. So, therefore, the first question that I'd like to pose to you is what is the energy trilemma in your opinion, and which are the implications for consumers and producers?
Okay, so first, a dilemma is when you have two options and you don't know which one to choose. You want both, but you cannot choose go to the left or go to the right. A trilemma is when you have a dilemma of three options. And in the energy sector, a trilemma and the energy trilemma is because you have to choose between energy sustainability, so how green, how low carbon is your energy, the energy affordability, so what's the price of the energy, and third, which is the energy security, so how available is the energy and the electricity in your country. So today, with the current technology, the energy dilemma is not achievable, the three options at the same time. Probably at the end of all these paths of energy transition, we'll got it, but not today.
That's an excellent overview and throws a lot of light into what, in your opinion, is a very diverse and a very versatile field.
Yes, and you have been in the COP28 and you have listened to the biggest producers of electricity in the world, like China, India, and the States. What can you tell us about their approaches to the energy production or electricity generation?
So, Jose, basically, there are many different ways to achieve decarbonization, as you're aware, and one can achieve it through technology, one can achieve it through mobility, one can achieve it through infrastructure innovations. And this spans a wide variety of investment that can potentially go towards decarbonization. It's estimated that approximately $35 trillion is likely to be invested towards decarbonization by 2030, and almost half of it is likely to be in the United States, parts of Europe, and Latin America. So the point here is that there's a whole range of technologies ranging from flexibility platforms to electric vehicles to solar to wind, biomass, renewables, etc. So with respect to what countries are doing to their energy transition, there is a whole range of activities that is happening in this framework, and that depends largely on the energy security priorities of these various countries. For example, in the United States, because of the IRA and the Inflation Reduction Act, basically, there is programs that are incentivized to take place in carbon capture, in hydrogen, in grid modernization, in EV charging networks, in advanced energy storage systems. So United States is a unique case where there is a lot of incentive and tax credits being offered for various initiatives around the energy transition. If you take other countries, emerging countries around the world, there is not as much incentive and there is not as much tax credit. So they are doing what is best possible for them from a return on investment standpoint. And therefore, you see a country like India, for example, where there's a lot of investment going on in renewables, coupled with energy storage, and also other renewable enabled programs such as hydrogen, for example, that can potentially impact and enable a whole range of green fuels. So that's in effect what's going on, which is basically a whole lot of different initiatives depending on the priorities and the energy security issues associated with these various countries.
Sounds great. Thank you, Ravi.
Excellent. So, Jose, one of the questions I had is basically moving on from my last comment that it's not one size fits all type of a strategy. How do you see energy transition happening in the European Union?
Well, in the European Union, we have some differences from the rest of the world. For example, in Europe, we have carbon taxes. In Europe, we have a TSO running the whole country TSOs. And there is a very interconnected in many countries, we don't have nuclear, or we are phasing them out, all the power plants. We are phasing coal out, and we are using natural gas power plants as the pivotal asset to get the flexibilization and leave room for renewables. So I would say that in general, the European approach is from a very, very diversity mix, and we are pushing hard to move to renewables, especially punishing with carbon taxes all the CO2 generation. So I think these are differences from other areas, and probably the development of the countries allow this.
Excellent, excellent. That is quite a unique perspective. And Europe actually has slightly different priorities than some other parts of the world, and also different incentives and tax mechanisms as well. So that has an impact on how they enable their energy transition. Yeah. So, Jose, why do islands appear to be more sensitive to the energy trilemma?
Well, we have the curious fact that islands in general are more affected by climate change, such as hurricanes, storms, or the increase of the sea level, and so on. And in the other hand, they are more dependent on fossil fuels because most of the islands don't have their own energy generation. There are some islands with geothermal, there are some islands with hydropower, but most of the islands rely on fossil fuels, either diesel, coal, or gas, to generate most of their electricity production. So they rely on external prices and the volatility of the prices in the market, which makes the prices in the island higher than in the continent. And second, in general, they are not interconnected with either other islands or peninsulas or even the continent nearby. So they need to be more independent in their electricity generation. They are having security problems, and sometimes the availability or the affordability of the electricity is worse than in the continent. So renewables are not required because electricity will be cheaper. It is because it can provide some autonomy to the electricity generation in the island and be less dependent on market prices of the fossil fuels. So linking the question with another topic, Ravi, how do you see grid modernization, energy storage, and carbon capture as very important tools to help us in the decarbonization of the electricity mix?
Excellent question, Jose. And each of these technologies have in its place in the energy transition. For example, energy storage is a key player in the energy transition. It basically ensures reliability of intermittent renewable energy, which is one of the biggest challenges that renewable energy faces at this point. Of course, the technology is not mature at this point. There are challenges with scalability and cost. The efficiency levels also have to be improved. Lithium ion, for example, has some environmental risk, and there are also capex issues associated with energy storage, and the duration is also a challenge that needs to be overcome. Long duration energy storage remains key for the adoption of energy storage as a complementary technology for renewables. On the other hand, we have technologies such as carbon capture, for example, which basically captures the carbon, transports it, and stores it under the ground. There are countries such as the United States where there are incentives as part of the Inflation Reduction Act, where potential energy facilities can get anywhere from $85 per ton to $180 per ton, depending on the type of technologies they use, whether it's point source or direct air capture. But again, there are challenges associated with it in terms of cost, in terms of building the pipeline infrastructure, building the storage capacity, the permitting of Class 6 wells, and a whole host of issues that would have to be overcome over the next several years. In the same vein, hydrogen is a very promising technology. Producing green hydrogen, if you have the right circumstances with respect to renewable projects or renewable sites, can be potentially a game changer. But again, you have to be sited in the right location. You have to have access to renewable solar and wind technology that can produce green hydrogen in conjunction with an electrolyzer, and then convert that green hydrogen into various byproducts such as industrial gases, or you could potentially make green ammonia or even methanol and several of the derivatives. So there's a whole host of possibilities. Grid modernization, of course, 62% or close to 65% of the global electricity will be through renewable energy, and the variability and the unpredictability of renewable energy requires modernizing the grid. And of course, that is critical for the decarbonization of the energy sector. So modernizing the grid remains one of the biggest challenges, and also modernizing the distribution network with a range of grid software and other software solutions, AI, machine learning driven solutions, virtual power plants, distributed energy resource management systems. These are all technologies that will play its part in decarbonizing the environment.
Well, thank you. Very complete answer. And last question before ending this first episode. So you just came from the COP28. Can you give us a caption, a summary of all the things that happened there?
Yes, clearly, it was a very positive conference with a lot of initiatives and a lot of promises to move away from fossil fuels, which is obviously the very first step towards decarbonization. But also, there was a tremendous amount of interaction possibilities between technology providers and energy facilities who are looking at a range of different options to potentially deploy technologies around the world. So the conferences such as the COP28 are very essential to actually get a reality check to see what is possible in which country based on their key energy security issues. You cannot have one size fits all strategy for the entire world. Every country has its own priorities, every country has its own cost structure, every country has its own fuel availability, and conferences such as the COP28 pull all these different diverse factors into a discussion that can result in adoption of the most practical approach towards decarbonization.
Thank you very much, Ravi. Well, we've reached to the end. In following episodes, we'll speak with experts about these three topics: energy security, affordability, and sustainability. And I think we put the basis to a great series of podcasts. So thank you, Ravi. Safe trip back to the States.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jose. And good luck to our viewers. Thank you.
We hope you liked this conversation. In the next episode, Ravi and Jose will interview a well-known expert in the industry to help us unlocking the energy trilemma. Follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe in the podcast platform of your choice: Spotify, Amazon, Google, or Apple.